Hi, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk to you about something that all of us experience at various points in time. Some of us are currently experiencing it, and it is body pain. Sometimes we have illness, sometimes we have injury. Myself, I actually have just this past week experienced a pretty traumatic body injury that's actually even affecting me right now. I pulled my lower back, and it happens, right? Anyone that's experienced like a bulging disc, a herniated disc, yeah, it can be pretty wild in terms of the shooting pains, in terms of the muscle tightness, spasms, all of that kind of thing. But also, there's a million other types of pain, pain from disease, pain from cancer, for example. There's a lot of pain. And so during this time, when I've had my pain, I've been really resting in the wisdom of our lineage, our Tibetan Buddhist masters, to really transform this into something that can be useful for all of you. And it's taken some time, as you can imagine. Pain is like that, isn't it? We have it, it affects us, and we don't know what to do with it. It just comes out of nowhere sometimes. And when it overwhelms us, we are immediately at its beck and call. Our first response to it is to look at it, to fear it, and to try anything to make it go away. So, oftentimes, what we look to do is we look for rest, we look for medicine, we look for experts, and it's the most important thing in our minds at that point in time when we experience pain is, can we make this pain go away? Can we do something to solve it? And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes just shifting the body into another position alleviates our pain temporarily. Other times it causes a greater shooting pain that then leaps up and causes us uh, more suffering. So during this process for me, as I'm sure you have gone through as well in your life, wherever you are, when we go through our pain, we start to really get consumed by it. It becomes the only thing. Now, first of all, how I want to talk about this with you today is by bringing in this idea of rest. So, we're searching for a solution to our pain because it's become all that there is in our minds. But as we do that, oftentimes, we actually don't necessarily get the right kinds of rest. Sure, we might try to rest externally, right, in a bodily way. We might, for example, have a shooting pain, grab wherever the tender region is, and try to rest that in the next moment, or try to pacify that by loosening the tension, right? That happens very naturally. It happens almost as a reaction. But then what's happening internally is not necessarily rest. We don't feel at rest inside our minds. We feel actually very concerned, very nervous, and we are gripping very tightly to the pain feeling, to this fear, to this concern that now has overwhelmed really our entire system sometimes. And as we're doing that, we're not actually getting rest inside our minds. Instead, even if we're laying down, there's no rest that's found. We might be thinking, what does this mean, for example? What can I do? What can I not do? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to talk to either make this go away or to come to terms with the fact that this is now my new reality, where this is maybe causing me mobility issues, maybe causing me uh, challenges in other ways. Maybe this means something for my longevity, even. All of that is going on inside of our hearts, inside of our brains, our minds. And it's then infusing this energetic channel area in our central region with tension. And it can be sometimes subtle because our minds are so looking at the pain region when it screams out and says, I'm here, don't forget about me, that our minds turn to that we don't actually even maybe recognize how tense our internal world has become. So how do we actually get to a place of true rest, which will invite healing to occur, even if it doesn't maybe happen externally in the way that we want, but that can actually make use of this bodily pain, this injury, this disease, in a way that doesn't pollute our minds and actually can be, as it's taught in by other great masters, our teacher, maybe. And if we feel like that's a stretch, then at least a something that brings more wisdom to us, something that we can transform into more wisdom in our minds, that we can somehow pacify in this deep, deep rest, a sanctuary, if you will, inside our minds. So, first of all, as we reflect on that possibility, we realize our minds are changeable. We can change our minds. We can have different types of relationships with everything that occurs around us. If I think, for example, that this cushion is somehow bad and wrong, I can have a very bad relationship with this cushion, even. I could think, I hate this cushion. Why is it in my way, right? And that's actually our default view towards our pain. Our default view towards our pain is one of fear, one of concern, and also, subtly, one of hatred, rejection. We do not like our pain. We don't want it to be there. We think it's a hindrance, right? But in the tradition of the Kagyu Tibetan Buddhist tradition, there is a great saint, and he actually was the head master, the ultimate saint of this, the crown jewel, if you will, of this tradition. His name is Milarepa. And Milarepa is actually the most famous, I would say individual even, in Tibetan history. His story is known by, I think, every Tibetan, once they can really learn stories. It is like the ultimate fairy tale, but actually a true story about this individual. Milarepa endured a tremendous amount of hardship in his life. And I won't go into the entire story. You can look it up. But what I will tell you is that he endured more body pain than I think maybe anyone I've ever heard of. He endured also extreme internal suffering because of the upheavals of relationships around him. These these very fraught relationships. And yet, uh, in his in his perfection, he actually became a yogi that only ate nettle tea. He really only ate nettles for a period of, I don't know, maybe years. And he survived based on the fact that his mind was entirely purified. His heart was entirely free and in love. And so, whatever bodily pain that he experienced was an ornament, actually, of his realization. He viewed it as not even the slightest bit wrong, and just actually a symbol of the perfection of the realization that he had gained, and the realization that he was given by his precious teacher and the lineage itself, the truth of things. It was so great within his mind that any physical suffering was not a big deal and actually already pure from the very beginning. That's something that we can also have. It sounds so extremely impossible to a mind that knows only the pain that we feel, but it is something that is actually directly possible on the same in the same basis way that it was possible for Milarepa. Milarepa didn't have anything additional. He has the same nature of the mind that we have. He's a human being, an ordinary human being. We are ordinary human beings too. And we can gain this same experience ourselves. So, how? How can we? How can we transform our pain, our experience of severe pain and disease and suffering into something that is so profoundly positive, where it doesn't affect us, and even more so, it becomes a radiant display of our perfection, actually, in the minds of all those who see us, because we somehow are joyous and content, even though we have such suffering going on in our physical bodies. What Milarepa had was he had a tremendous amount of compassion and a tremendous amount of devotion. And I will talk about each. First, compassion. He was not always perfected, and he went through a lot of tribulation. During this tribulation time, he was wrought by disease that even made him want to pass away. He didn't want to go on anymore. And we have found ourselves in similar situations. If you have body pain, if you're going through this type of suffering, of disease maybe too, it can be so terrible in our minds that we want to flee from it. And that feeling of wanting to flee is breaking us. Milarepa had that too. He went through that. We all go through that. However, as he learned more about the nature of things, he realized that we are all interconnected. In our interconnectedness, there is no individual that has it perfect. We all are undergoing some amount of suffering. Because of that, there can be an opening of our hearts towards thinking about others who have it just as bad or have it worse, especially in a bodily way, right? I just pulled my back. No big deal. compared with somebody that's undergoing spinal cancer, where their entire back is covered with lesions. They have it much worse than me. If I bring my mind to them and I think about them and about my own suffering, and I feel my own pain, and then I feel how much worse it would be if it went all the way up my back. How if it, instead of being occasional, it was inflamed all the time. And I bring that to my mind and I see that this isn't just one person that's undergoing that. This is countless people, countless animals even, that are experiencing these types of things. Now, suddenly, I recognize that they're with me here, actually, in this world. We're all interconnected. We all have the same Mother Earth, right? We all have the same source of being. We're all just Mother Earth dust that came into being with a bit of sunlight and water, right? Once we start to realize that, then we start to feel this love. They're just like me, but they're suffering so much more. So much more. No matter what you're going through, there's always somebody who has it worse. And it's impossible, even if by some magical way, I mean, this is for the logicians out there, that you do have it the worst. You have it the actual, absolute worst of anybody. You don't have it the worst in every single way. You only have it the worst in one way. And there's people that have it worse in a million other ways that you don't. When we start to see this, we start to feel our hearts expand in our love of all of these other people, all of these other beings who have such great suffering, how they have great pain. And now all of a sudden we can say, maybe my pain isn't so bad, but we can also do something else. We can create an aspiration. And this is based on the strength of the fact that we can transform our relationships of mind. So aspiration is a tool that we can utilize to change our own minds. So coming back to this cushion, for example, if I have a bad relationship with it, I can change that. And one possible method is with aspiration. So with this cushion, for example, if I aspire, may I use this cushion for only beneficial things. May every interaction I have with this cushion benefit all of those who are suffering. And I really mean that in my heart. Then I will see this cushion as a tremendous ally in my whole life, my purpose on this earth. And I will feel like it is radiant with compassion towards me even, because I'll feel like, wow, that aspiration I made, it's actually providing to me too. All beings are ourselves included. So if I make an aspiration to use this for the benefit of everyone, then now every time I see it, it radiates me. It emanates to me too. This love, like it was said in this world, that I want to love others with this thing. Even though just a second ago I had a terrible relationship with it. Now all of a sudden, I don't. So similarly, we look at our pain. We have this pain within. For me right now, I'm, I don't know, the doctors, they like to ask these questions, nurses, what's your level of pain? I'd say maybe around a 5, not so bad, I guess. But there it is, right? It's there. And for you, you might do that same just looking in. Where's your pain? What's its level out of a 10? Whatever that is. Okay. There it is. Now we're going to remember to aspire. Now we aspire together to use this pain to take away the suffering of all. Everyone who has pain that's like this, less than this, and greater than this. And also in different ways, in different places. We only have it here, or wherever you might have it, but others have it elsewhere. So we want to use this pain to take away their pain. Now, suddenly, when this little pesky pain starts to flare up again, I now have a relationship where I think, that's reminding me about this aspiration. This is telling me. This is actually maybe even taking away the pain of others. So now I can have an association with my pain that keeps my heart open and doesn't draw my mind back to it in this really upset way as much. Now, it's a practice, but if we remind ourselves over and over, we make these aspirations over and over, we think about others and their suffering over and over and how we want that to be taken away, and we want to use our pain to take this away from everyone else in the world, all those that are interconnected with us, all of those who are close to us, our friends, our family, those that we care about the most, that they don't have to endure this, right? They don't have to endure anything like this. If we make that aspiration, we hold that aspiration, then that creates a tremendous amount of spiritual energy. And it actually opens our minds so much. So that's the first, compassion. That's one practice that we can engage in. And there's others out there that talk about Tonglen meditation. Tonglen meditation, you can look up how to do that. It's a great method for this. It involves breathing, and I won't go into it too much. You can look it up on your own. Then the second is devotion. Milarepa had devotion. So he had that kind of compassion. And that compassion transformed his experience of, in this case, nettle tea every day. Drinking nettle tea and finding his body getting weaker and weaker and smaller. But he was able to endure life with just nettle tea. He had compassion, great compassion. And then devotion. Now, this is a special method. There are different spiritual traditions. And those of us maybe don't have a spiritual tradition too. No matter what spiritual tradition we have, or if we don't have one, devotion really is a feeling of reverence and, I would say at the beginning, some amount of yearning for an answer to the primordial question of why are we separate? Why are we separate? Why is it that things appear in this way, where it's me here, you there, others elsewhere, and we all have to undergo our own challenges in life, in this case, our own pain. There is a whole despite this separation. This whole on a material level, everyone will agree that we could call it the universe. Others go a bit beyond that. They have monotheistic beliefs. Others have more energetic beliefs and give it like another energetic name, And then the Buddhists have recognized the mind and its interrelationship with all of appearances. So they have their own name, the Dharmadhatu, essence, the Dharmakaya. No matter what that is, we can have devotion. That this isn't exactly real. This isn't exactly true. Everything is passing. Everything is dreamlike. We don't really feel like this world is 100% stable, obviously, 100% true. This feeling of separation between us and everyone else isn't really our firm identity. So if we start to say, I really yearn, I'm going to be devoted because I have this yearning to stretch my hands out and for the answer, right? The answer of this question, the answerer of this question, this primordial energy of the universe, this primordial oneness of everything, this, ultimate nature. And I have total devotion, yearning that this nature and me can become one if I just devote myself in my heart and reach out. If we engage in that practice and we really, really meditate and really, really foster within our hearts, we encourage ourselves despite all of the pain that we feel, despite all of the appearances of suffering, despite all of the BS of living as a human. And we say, okay, I'm just going to take 5 minutes here every day, maybe a few times a day if we have time, and just put all of my energy into reaching out from within to hold the hands, to bring within the primordial essence of reality. And I do that to take away my pain and to take away the pain of all of those others that we just meditated on. If you do that, there's going to be an answer. There's going to be a breakdown of the self. There is going to be a waterfall that comes into your heart. Now you have to put yourself into it. You have to put all your energy into it for maybe 5 minutes a day, maybe a few times a day. But if you put all of your energy into that, and you have this motivation to remove your pain and all the pain of everyone, the whole world, all those that are like us who are enduring this body pain, there is going to be a very strong answer that you will receive. And that answer will make it so that you can be like Milarepa. You will no longer feel like this appearance around us of pain, of our thoughts, of our concerns, is the only truth. That maybe there's not just that. And as we then experience that directly, that waterfall of blessing, waterfall of this answer, our pain will be very endurable. It will be only an ornament of that essence. We will not feel confined by ourselves. Instead, we will feel at one, at peace non-dual, some might say, at rest, inward, outward, and ultimately. No more will we have to suffer. Now, it's a practice. It's not something that we will see every moment, right? After we didn't finish with our 5-minute meditation, we do this. And we yearn and yearn and yearn, and we receive these blessings because we get this answer. The next moment, our pain's going to come back. And then we have our compassion, right? We have our compassion practice. So we have maybe a changed relationship. But even still, we might experience suffering again. But if we gain this relationship with compassion and devotion, what will happen is our minds will begin to change, and we will begin to remember in our hearts, in the pain, during the suffering, we'll remember what we've seen, this direct experience of union with the primordial nature. And when we remember that, everything else is kind of silly. And that's what Milarepa had. And he had it on the basis of having a teacher in Tibetan Buddhism. The guru is the person who introduces that, shares that, transmits that, and then is also the representation of that we yearn for in our meditation. But in whatever tradition you are a part of, this is possible. This is possible. There are mystics in all of the world's religions. This is what they're talking about. This is it. But we have to do it. And then when we do it, we might feel tears streaming down our face. We might finally feel at peace. Not just externally, like we've gotten a break. So it's not just external rest. And it's not just maybe a moment of the worries going away, but it's ultimate rest. It's the basis of everything, is this restful, ultimate nature. We will feel like we're within it, imbued by it, and that everything else is now just an ornament of it. It's possible. And I'm not sharing anything here. I want to be clear on that. I'm not sharing anything here that is not based on a personal direct experience. So it's not something that I've just studied and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I wish that would be the case. So I'm just going to talk about it. I know this is true. This is absolutely achievable for any other person. Because I'm not special. This isn't like a special person here. This is a very actually basic person with a lot of problems. Very silly person who's made a lot of mistakes in his life. And Milarepa, he made a lot of mistakes in his life. A lot more than me. At least on an external level. No matter who you are, this is possible. So try it out. If you have pain, especially, this can be powerful because the energy that you have in the pain is a very strong ally in this practice because it's loud. It requires your attention. So use it. Use it. It's requiring your attention. So look in this new way. Compassion, devotion. 5 minutes meditation every day, maybe a couple times a day. You will see a change in your heart. You will see a change in your mind. And when new crazy pain comes, new disease, you still might feel overwhelmed. I sure did. I sure have been, It's part of being human. It's okay. But this is the support that we can have during this process that will entirely transform our view around us. So sending you so much love if you are enduring pain, so much aspiration that it goes away, that it's alleviated from its very root, that you experience this waterfall of blessing. Truly, this is my aspiration for you. I know how pain can be sometimes. It's very, very hard. Very hard. And there are great masters that have experienced much more pain than me that have relied upon these types of practices. So please consider them. And I really hope from the bottom of my heart that something here has touched your mind, your heart, in a way that will release that pain, even just momentarily for you. So thank you so much for listening, taking the time out of your day to be together here, sending you so much heartfelt love, wanting to take that pain away from you. And until next time, please, I would say be well. But in this way, please practice so that you can find the wellness within.